Hey everyone, welcome to another way too early predictions video for our 2024 college football season. The team that we're going to be taking a look at today is our 2024 Ole Miss Rebels football team led by head coach Lane Kiffin. We are going to be looking at every single game this year, seeing which games we think they're going to win, which games we think they're going to lose, and also try to predict the score for every game and their final record. Go ahead, hit that like button and subscribe. We are breaking down every single team this offseason, going over every single schedule, trying to predict their final record at the end of the year. Once the regular season starts, every single week we go over every single game. We break down the spreads, money lines, and the over-unders, and we also do the same thing for every NFL game once the NFL season starts. Like I said, hit that like button and subscribe. As I mentioned earlier, we're looking at Ole Miss today. There's been a lot going on with Ole Miss. They've basically ruled the offseason so far for the college football transfer portal. They have the number one transfer portal class coming in. They added some massive names in there. They added Walter Nolan. They added Princely. They added Wells Jr. They added Amos. They've been stacking up all over the field on offense, on defense. They had the number 12 offense last year in all of college football. They're going to be better this year. Jackson Dart, he returns at the quarterback position, the most important position. They added depth at running back, wide receiver, tight end. The biggest question they had last year was the defense. They didn't have a bad defense. They had an average defense, but they added massive pieces on the defensive side, mainly led by Walter Nolan, Princely coming in. That's going to make massive difference on the defensive line. They're going to be getting after opposing teams' quarterbacks. So much so, they ruled the offseason so much that ESPN has them as the number 6 team in their way too early top 25. So they're perfectly positioned to make a run at their very first college football playoff. If you are an Ole Miss fan, if you are a Lane Kiffin fan, there's a lot to be excited for. This is the best team that you guys have ever fielded before. So enjoy it. A lot of hype coming into this year, but the SEC's tough. There's going to be a tough schedule. The SEC added Texas. They added Oklahoma. But if you win the conference, you get the bye week, you get in the playoffs. If you go 11-1 or 10-2 in the SEC, you're more than likely probably going to make the playoffs this year. So they don't have to win every game. They just have to have a really solid season. Basically, pick up where they left off last year. But let's go ahead and get things started, breaking down their 2024 schedule. They kick things off really easy. First game Saturday, August 31st versus the Furman Paladins. This game is in Oxford, Mississippi. It's the opening game, home field advantage. This game's obviously going to be a blowout. It's not going to be close at all. They have a very easy first half of their schedule. They kind of walk things in, but that's good. Get your reps in, get warmed up. You have a lot of new players. Get them the reps, get them all comfortable in the system. So once you get in the SEC conference play, you're rolling, you're hot. They're going to blow out Furman. This game's probably going to be like a 55-7 game, and they're 1-0. They followed that up Saturday, September 7th versus Middle Tennessee. Middle Tennessee is one of those teams that surprisingly can surprise you sometimes. Obviously, they beat Miami 2 years ago. They're a pretty solid team. They're not bad. They're obviously not good at all. This game's not going to be close in any way whatsoever. Ole Miss is going to be hot coming off of a over 50-point performance. Look for them to follow that up here. I have them going back-to-back 50-point performance games. I have them winning this game 52-13, beating Middle Tennessee bad, blowing them out, and they're now 2-0. Then Saturday, September 14th, they have their first road game at Wake Forest. So it's a road game, but it's obviously a really easy road game. Wake Forest, since Sam Hartman's left, there's just no firepower there. There's not much going on. They don't have a good offense. They don't have a good defense. They're not necessarily coached well. They don't have good special teams. They're not going to be able to compete with Ole Miss in any way. Look for them to get blown out at home. Not 50+, but I'm going to have them winning this game. Probably about a 45-17 game, and they're 3-0. Then Saturday, September 21st, they're back at home versus the Georgia Southern Eagles. So you see what I was saying there. They have a really easy start to the schedule. They're going to be 4-0 after this week for sure. That's a certain. They're going to beat Georgia Southern bad. Georgia Southern actually has a pretty decent offense. They run the ball really well. They're probably going to score some points. Ole Miss isn't going to have a great defense, but I think they'll have a solid defense, much improved over last year. Look for them to win this game 40-21, and they're 4-0. And then Saturday, September 28th, they get into conference play. You have the Kentucky Wildcats. This game is also at home. So this is the first SEC matchup. They've basically been curb-stomping teams so far. So this is their first actual somewhat tough game because they actually have to take Kentucky serious. Kentucky's a first-half team. They usually play really well first half of the season. They get out 5-0, 6-0. Then they completely nosedive and fall out. But this is the first half, so you might actually get really good Kentucky here. Kentucky has upgraded at the quarterback position. We know that Kentucky always has a run game. Very physical team, very physical offensive line, very physical defensive line. And Stoops is going to have that defense ready to play. Do not overlook this game. If you're not taking it seriously, looking further down the schedule, Kentucky can surprise you. But I have Lane Kiffin keeping control down, rolling through Kentucky. I have them winning this game at home, but a little bit closer, winning this game 33-21, and they're 5-0. Saturday, October 5th, at the South Carolina Gamecocks. This game is in Columbia, South Carolina. Obviously, we know the Gamecocks. They played really well 2 years ago. They beat Clemson. They beat Tennessee. Completely fell off last year. Rattler's gone at quarterback. They have to replace a lot of position players. Quarterback's gone. They lost their best wide receivers. They all went into the portal. Some even coming to Ole Miss's way. So they're kind of in a position there where Beamer, he's potentially on the hot seat. They might come out this game first half, first quarter, play really tough, play really physical, but I don't think they're a match for Ole Miss. Look for Ole Miss to run through them in South Carolina. They're going to win this game 38-20, and they're 6-0. And then Saturday, October 12th, you have their first true, real test of the season versus the LSU Tigers. This is the first team that can punch them in the mouth. One of the first teams that can actually match them position for position skill-wise. Now, LSU, obviously, great head coach. They have Brian Kelly. They are replacing the offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, so they're running a new scheme. But LSU's roster is the top 5 talented roster in all of college football. You don't want to overlook them. You don't want to think that you can out-physical them, outplay them. They have playmakers. They've been putting wide receivers into the NFL nonstop for years now. They're going to be loaded there. But they lost some massive skilled position players. They lost Jayden Daniels at quarterback, who obviously won the Heisman. That's a pretty big loss. They lost Napiers at wide receiver. They actually had 2 wide receivers taken first round and their quarterback taken first round. So their offense, they have Nussmeier coming in at the quarterback position. Even if he plays really good, he's still a massive step back from your Heisman-winning Jayden Daniels. They're probably going to be better on defense. They're obviously bringing in a new coordinator there. He is familiar with LSU. He has coached there before. Blake Baker, really good coordinator. But Ole Miss, they're rolling at this point. You have to take LSU serious. Ole Miss actually has a pretty hard second half to the schedule. Easy first half. Maybe they kind of gotten lulled to sleep. They're not taking the second half serious. This is where they could easily get upset this game, lose this game. LSU's probably going to be coming in here top 15, top 20. They will definitely be ranked. If you don't take this game seriously, if you're looking further down the schedule at the Sooners, at Georgia, you're going to lose this game. So can Lane Kiffin keep control of his team, keep them looking at every single game week to week? I think he can. I have Ole Miss winning this game in Louisiana, in Death Valley, one of the toughest places to play. I have them winning a really close one, a 30-27 game. It's going to be a field goal game. They're going to win it. They're 7-0. Then they have a much-needed bye week, October 19th. They're off that weekend. They need it because they got their first test. They maybe weren't fully prepared for it. They were able to get through it, claw their way through it. Now they have to rebound. If they somewhat lose this game for any reason, they also need that bye week to regroup and get back on track. So this is the perfect time to have your first bye week. They follow that up Saturday, October 26th, versus the Oklahoma Sooners, one of the newcomers to the SEC, but thankfully this game is back in Oxford, Mississippi. Oklahoma. So obviously you have Gabriel going to Oregon. He's a Heisman-level quarterback. He's gone. They're bringing in Jackson Arnold at the quarterback position. He's a 5-star, one of the best quarterbacks coming out of high school. Played really well his bowl game. Oklahoma, under Brent Venables, obviously their defense was garbage 2 years ago. Got way better last season. Oklahoma is a top 10 talented roster. They're going to be bringing in a top 20 offense. They're probably going to be bringing in a top 30, top 40 defense this year. They've been recruiting well. They've been working the portal. They can match almost any team in the country, talent for talent, at every single position. Their biggest upgrade they need to make over last year is having a better run game, but they're going to be really tough. But they are coming to Mississippi, and they have a gauntlet of a schedule. They're going to be getting punched and bruised every week. I think they're going to be somewhat tired, somewhat worn down this game, but Oklahoma can definitely win it. It's almost 50-50, but I have Ole Miss pulling it out at home, winning another close one, 31-27, low-scoring game, one-possession game, but Oklahoma is now 8-0. They follow that up November 2nd at Arkansas Razorbacks. Obviously, with Pittman's team here, he has new coordinators, but KJ Jefferson's gone. The team's been completely depleted. I don't really see the talent there to be able to compete with Ole Miss, unless Ole Miss is battered and bruised after having just played Oklahoma, LSU, and they're looking towards next week's game versus Georgia. They don't take this one serious, but I think they will. I don't think the Razorbacks are very good. I have Ole Miss winning this game, moving to 9-0, and they're going to win it pretty handily. They're going to win this game 44-20. Then they follow that up Saturday, November 9th, with the toughest game of the season, probably versus the number 1 Georgia Bulldogs. But this game is at home. It is in Oxford. I've given you all the reasons why Ole Miss's roster is so talented. From quarterback all the way to the secondary, completely rebuilt team. They have almost better talent than every team that they'll be playing. LSU's obviously loaded, but Georgia and Ohio State probably have the best top-to-bottom college football rosters. Ole Miss isn't that far behind, but there's still a gap. So you got 1, 2, and then you have a massive gap till you get to 3 and 4. Because Ohio State and Georgia are just that talented, and they're also bringing in a star quarterback. They have Carson Beck coming back at the quarterback position. They're going to be loaded at running back, wide receiver, and we always know that they're going to be bringing in a top 10 defense. But this game is in Mississippi. Ole Miss is running hot right now. They can definitely win this game. If they win this game, all eyes are going to be on them. They're probably going to be the number 1 team if they win this game. But this is going to be a top 5 matchup, because Ole Miss will probably be number 3 or 4 at this point, playing number 1 Georgia. But I have Georgia getting this first matchup. I have them beating Ole Miss in a decently close game. I have them winning this game 34-27, a one-possession game. I think it's a 2-possession game, but Ole Miss gets a touchdown late in the fourth quarter. They go for it. They don't get the ball back, and Georgia just kneels, runs the clock out. I think that's the way this game is going to end. Now, they could definitely meet again in the SEC Championship, and it's hard to beat a team twice. I don't think Ole Miss is ready yet to play Georgia during the regular season, but maybe if they rematch in the SEC Championship, Game 2 might go the other way. But they're going to drop to 9-1, but obviously still a top 10 team. Then they're off a bye week, obviously highly deserved. Coming off of a loss, you got to get a couple things right. You got to get your team's mentality back on track. And a Saturday, November 23rd versus the Florida Gators in Gainesville, Ben Hill Griffin Stadium. Florida, there's not much to say here. Their schedule is atrocious. They have the hardest, most difficult schedule I have ever seen. They're going to, be really lucky to win 5 or 6 games. It's just a gauntlet. They play like 9 ranked teams. They're going to be so battered at this time. I have Ole Miss running through Florida, getting revenge on that Georgia loss. They're going to beat Florida up bad. I have them winning this game, probably about a 45-27. They win it. They're 10-1. And then you have the in-state matchup here. You have Mississippi State Bulldogs coming to Ole Miss. This is a Mike Leach's team. This is Jeff Lebby's team. Obviously, Jeff Lebby was the coordinator for Lane Kiffin before. They're both familiar with one another. They both run very similar offenses. They're both offensive geniuses. Mississippi State, though, they obviously in no way have the roster of their in-state rival Ole Miss. This is not Mike Leach here. This is a complete rebuild, completely retooling things from Zach Arnett when he got fired. This game is probably going to be a blowout. So I have Ole Miss finishing the season with another win here, winning this game. It'd be a pretty decent-sized win. I say they're going to win this game, probably about a 45-20 game, and they finish the regular season 11-1. A lot of pollsters, a lot of Vegas guys are picking them to go 11-1 this year. Some have them going 10-2. Either way, I have them going 11-1, their sole loss to Georgia, setting them up perfectly to potentially get into the SEC Championship. Whoever wins the SEC Championship, they get the bye week. they make the playoffs. Ole Miss would love that. This is their chance. This is their most talented roster ever, and they have a lot of senior players. If they were ever going to win one, this is it right now. So if you're an Ole Miss fan, be rooting for this squad. This is your chance to potentially make a run to the end, even if they don't beat Georgia. If they get 11 wins, if they go 11-2, they're going to make the playoffs. So they still have a shot. They just don't get the bye week. If they go 10-2, they're in the SEC. They still have a shot to make the playoffs. Everything is in front of them, and they have the talent to achieve it. So that's my breakdown of the 2024 Ole Miss Rebels. Hit that like button and subscribe. If you have any comments, if you agree, disagree, drop them below, and I'll make sure to respond. Thanks.